Okay, we'll try this again. As I was saying, this is your knot assembly. And this is what actually ties the knot. Okay. Your twine, of course, is stored here. That's arm that I showed you there at the end of the last video. That arm decides how long your bales are going to be. You can see here's the end of one bale, and here's the other end of it. Now, if you make this arm move shorter or faster, or let it drop down, in this case, you can move this little nut assembly right here down, and you can make the bales longer or shorter, depending on whether you want a thrower size bale, which this bale, as you can see, did have a thrower on it. The problem is that thrower came out at a very acute angle like this, and you'd had to make the bale shorter, or the thrower belts would just eat it up. So if you've got one that 1 minute throws a long bale and 1 minute's throwing a short bale, come over and check this thing, make sure it's not slipping, make sure it's not out of whack. These knotters, the best thing I can tell you is keep them clean. This is fresh out of the field from yesterday afternoon. Before it goes out to our next field, they will get cleaned and they will get a light touch of grease. You do not put a lot of grease on these knotters, okay? I'm the first one to tell you things need grease on them. These knotters are like Brill cream. A little dab will do you. You don't need a shitload of grease in these things. Don't do it, guys. It would cause you nothing but headaches and heartaches. And make sure you get all the fittings, because there's fittings hidden down inside there. A lot of times I'll take this 9/16 bolt right here, I'll take them out and swing the knotters up and make sure I got everything. Okay, and here's another one of my pet peeves. Obviously, that's the knot where we connect the two balls of twine. You can see here's the end of the old one, here's the start of the brand new one. That knot right there cannot be large. It has to be tiny. It has to be strong as an ox and tiny as a shrew. Because if it's not, nice and tight and small and compact, I'm going to show you here in just a second where you run into your conundrum. It comes out of the box okay. Look up in there. See them two little guides? That knot's got to pass through that hole, through them holes down there. You can see where the twine's going in through those holes. Then it's got to come back up through the eye of that needle. See? You can see it there. The phone's not in the best focus, but you can see it there. If that knot gets stuck on the way through, you're going to end up with a big pile of twine like this, because all it's going to do is tie one side. The twine's not going to come through. You got to shut down, rethread the needle, restart everything, and that's about 3 bales worth of hay that you got to redo. That's not a big deal, but at the same time, it's work you got to do that you probably don't want to do, because it's kind of a pretty dirty job. Again, we were talking about banana bales. We're going to go back to that for a second. When you're feeding this thing, this is obviously the feeder head, the pickup head, as some people call it. That's what I call its pickup head. The rate you feed at, how fast you're driving, how fast you're going across the field, where you're at on here with your windrow. If you're out here on this end versus in here on this, we're right running center mass. Those two things will make a difference in how that bale packs. And that can cause a banana bale situation or aggravate an already sketchy situation. And the other thing that will affect bale tension is the actual dryness, the moisture level in the hay. You're doing a head row, and you've heard me talk about double raking the head rows. A lot of times they don't dry out. It's still a little green, it's still a little damp. And that stuff is tough as a keg of nails. And you can tell when you get into a big knot like that, because one, it's usually a pretty hefty windrow. So you end up having to stop and let it feed in real slow. And when you get into that stuff, a lot of times it's very stringy, and you'll go to pull just a little bit in, it'll suck this big wad of, semi-damp stuff in there, and all of a sudden you'll hear that barrel, she'll start to slamming and knocking, the tractor will start to rocking back and forth, and that's how you break shear bolts. I don't know how many shear bolts I didn't watch my dad and I break when we were doing this. And we had an old 279 New Holland baler, and you'd suck up a wad like that, and next thing you know, she'd be row, 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 boom, and you're down here putting another shear bolt in it, and it's about 105 degrees. Everybody wants to get done and go home. And if I had a brain, that'd be dangerous. Shut the fuel off on the tractor. But that was just a couple little things I wanted to point out on the baler. Little tricks, and this doesn't apply just to Ford balers. This applies to every small square baler out there, with the exception of the new ones that have the hydraulic tensioner. You guys that have one, you remember these days the old hand cranks. Them hydraulic tensioners, you just turn the knob and life goes on. So, but we just pounded, I guess, about 500 bales through this between our farm and the place we just did, and getting ready to go Saturday and knock out another 200-300 bales, and then down to West Virginia to our rental farm. And if you take a little care of them and don't run them fast, that we was talking about ground speed there just a minute ago, having to do everything to do with a lot to do, I should say, with your bale tension and all like that. Don't run these machines fast. This is not a round baler. Okay, you cannot go across the field at 14 miles an hour with this thing like you can with your big BR 7070. Okay, it ain't going to happen, period. It's not going to happen. You do that, you're going to break stuff, or you're just going to end up making a big old bloody mess. So just take your time, figure on the fact that this is an old machine, and, they ain't no call to be in that big a hurry. Just settle down and let it do what it was made to do. Just slow down a little bit, guys. It'll be all right. And, well, as you can see, my helper Jimmy's been doing the mowing around here. He's got the place looking really good, I must say. I'm impressed. I am duly impressed. He does very nice work. I'm going in here. I'm going to do some nice work to a bowl of supper, and I'm going to bed. I've been up since 2:45.